Okay, again, for the technically minded, the next segment deals with the buttons and dials, all right? This unit has some pretty terrific technology that is contained in the menus and the submenus. And it's a little bit of intricate finger work that gets you to the right places in the menus. No one's better equipped to tell you about it than Mark. So in this next segment, he's going to work your way through all of these buttons and dials up here and give you the what for on all that stuff.
Just go around the pack head, just to look at a couple of the other capabilities of the pack. So if I want to test my flash, this is the lightning bolt button. I'm pointing it away from the camera so we won't pop out that lens a little bit. It's just this button. So up and down on power, turning it on and off. And the other button here is for a modeling light. I'm going to turn this on but kind of point it a little bit down from the lens because I don't want to blow out the shot. But this is an LED modeling light. I'm going to shut it off a second so you can do a close-up of it. Let me take off this multi-cap. And you can see this little flat panel in there. It's just a it draws only 20 watts of power, but it's, as you saw just a moment ago, very, very bright. And on a single charge, we can have this modeling on for up to 2 hours.
So the LED nature of it means that it being not an incandescent light or a filament that gets hot, right. LED stays cool and it's not as big a battery draw.
Right, exactly.
What you're saying. Okay,
right.
Cool.
And I just want to mention very quickly the transit or multi-function cap. This is new to Elinchrom on this product, and it should be released in April of 2010. Those customers who purchased Quadras prior to this, there'll be a program where you'll be able to get transit caps for your Quadras out there. So, and it'll start shipping on the Quadras themselves probably in about April of this year.
That's important because without this, the flash tube itself is naked in transit, and you got to be careful with it.
Right, and they call it a multifunction cap. Obviously, you can see that it's diffused, and it's probably hard for the camera to see, but we have these little pieces around the side here that'll hold a gel. So I can clip my gel to this size, and it'll slip right into the edges here, and it holds a gel.
Cool. Last thing you want out there is a naked flash tube.
Yeah.
And you know, dangerous on lots of levels. Where are we now? Let's talk.
Okay.
Quadra, come on. You're here for a reason, man. Kind of, you know, let's keep it coming.
Okay, so we talked a little bit about the power ratios of 2/3 to 1/3. So when we're driving two heads, as we mentioned, 2/3 goes into the A port, 1/3 goes into the B port. Mm-hmm. If you're only driving one head, which is important to know, the A port will take you all the way up to 400 watt seconds. And take you down to 25 watt seconds. But sometimes there are shots that you need to go even lower watt seconds and just need a splash of light. So if you then take that single head out of the A port and put it into the B port, it drops down by 1/3. So this one goes from 8 watt seconds up to 132 watt seconds, giving you just the power you need to be able to go along. It's actually a 6-stop power range.
That's pretty cool. Here's the thing, in the bad old days of flash photography and the old power packs, if you wanted to decrease the power out of one port, they were generally not asymmetrical, so you'd have to actually physically bleed the pack, take a flash head, run it off another port, snake it out the doorway and flash it down the hall so it didn't affect your shot and effectively bled power off the pack. Now you've got a lot of sort of incremental touch control, which is nice because you can really feather the light. Again, important for any shooter in the field that you have as much control over the flash you're applying to the scene as you possibly can.
Yeah.
So, all right,
great.
Let's go,
okay.
Let's go, guy, come on.
Let's talk about the menus and what you can do with this. So
I'm a pain in his butt, you know that? I'm a pain in his butt. But the thing is, he knows his stuff. And he keeps me kind of like, I'll look at the camera and say something ridiculous like, the Elinchrom Quadra will light your subject with the power of 1,000 suns. And he'll say, no, Joe, that doesn't happen. So he keeps me straight, he keeps me in line.
I try, but it's very difficult. Okay, let's just go through the basic menu operation. There are two buttons over here. The top one is just called the menu button. The bottom one is called the submenu. Let's just talk about the top one first. And there are also a series of icons around the outside, and I might as well explain them. The first one, the eyeball, is for your slave cell. Mm-hmm. And slave cell will mean that I'm looking for another light, and when I see that light, I'm going to pop.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay? The next one down is a radio beacon, and that's for the wireless triggering system that's built into the system.
Okay.
The next icon down, the little picture of a horn, is basically the sound, the confirmation beep when the pack does its thing.
Right.
Okay. The next one down is slow or fast recycle. It's a picture of a snail. And what that simply means.
The engineers at Ellencrom don't get out much. So the picture of the snail is probably their way of having a little fun.
Okay. Picture of a snail, or the snail, the slow recycle, does that. It recycles the pack slower, but it gives you approximately 30 to 40% more shots in the pack. So if you're not having to get very fast recycle times, this will preserve the power, the number of shots on your pack. Fast recycle will bring that number down, but it will give you almost half the speed, half the time to recycle time.
Okay.
Okay.
Right.
Finally, the last icon down is the auto off. Since this is a battery, we don't want to just to turn it on and leave it on when we're setting up a shot. So what we try to do is we try to turn it off when it's not being used after so many minutes.
So what's the factory default in terms of time for the shutdown?
The shutdown, I believe, factory default rather is 5 minutes.
5 minutes. All right. So if you leave the pack alone and don't activate it at all, it'll shut down in 5 minutes. But you can also shut that out and just leave it on. You know, that's a customizable
That's
control.
right. We're going to talk a little bit about that. But let's just talk about the top menu right now. So in order to cycle through these icons, all I do is press the top menu button. And when I do that, I get a blinking icon. And that's telling me my slave cell is off. A 1 in the display indicates that that particular feature is on. A 0 indicates that it's off. That's the slave cell. If I press the menu button again, I go to my radio control. Right now, 1's indicating that it's on. 0 would indicate that it's off. Press the top menu button again, I go to my audio beep. Maybe I'm working in a hospital or a soundstage and I can't have a beep, I can turn that off. Press it again. And that's a slow recycle. That is currently off. If I wanted to put slow recycle on, I just press the 1. So just turning it on or off is just a 0 or 1. And finally down below is the auto off. Do we want to turn that feature off completely? We could. So that's the top level menus. There's a few other menus beyond that that will affect display and the increment that you can go up and down. I don't think most people are going to wind up using those features, but we could get into those.
Here's the thing, that the interesting piece of technology that this pack represents and why I've kind of gravitated towards it, it is fairly deep, okay, in terms of the technology of it. I've tried to plow my way through the manual for this thing and haven't quite made it yet. So I'm kind of a field creature. I rely on field experience. So I've been, you know, messing with the unit, punching, you know, the buttons and stuff like that. The thing is, it does a lot of things. It does them fairly simply and really well. There is another layer that gets more complex. Here's the principal feature that I think of when I think of that more complex feature that is important to me is the TTL learning mode.
Yeah.
So if you're a small flash user, and lots of folks are, this could potentially be a complement to that system or the next step. And here's the cool thing about it. It's not a dumb flash in the sense that it has to trigger off of another flash in a traditional fashion. You know, the photo eye reacts to a sudden increase in light, everything goes together. You can't do that in a TTL flash pattern because of the monitor pre-flashes. Those TTL lights, those hot shoe flashes, are talking to each other. This is not part of that conversation.
Correct.
So it will trigger on the pre-flashes.
Right.
And therefore, this light will dump before your shutters actually open. Nice thing about this is that you can program a mode where if you waste a shot in a TTL flash pattern, this pack will learn that flash pattern, and then in the next shot, you'll get the impact of this flash in your actual exposure. True?
True. Although you make it sound so much more complex than it actually is.
I thought that was pretty simple, actually.
So that would, to do that, what we would do is access the top menu, and if I just turned this on, it would pop after the first flash. What we want to do is we want to go into the sub menu. So I press the sub menu button and I navigate down to CP0. In a moment, it's going to beep at me and that P will disappear. And at this point, if you waste a shot, it'll automatically count the number of pre-flashes in that, how many tilt head flashes you have, and program itself. And then from that point forward, you're ready to go. But
So you never have to touch it again after it learns that.
Well, that's correct. You don't unless you add or remove a TTL
Another
flash.
TTL flash.
Right.
Okay,
Exactly.
cool.
Okay.
Yeah, the more TTL flashes you have, obviously, the more pre-flashes are you know, bouncing around the room. So then you have to go back into this unit and have it relearn an additional flash or the new pattern.
Right. Exactly. I'm going to show you right now one of the most important features of this pack, and is how to reset it to factory standards, just in case you've come in or someone's come in and messed it up.
I know that.
You know this one?
Yeah.
You want to show it?
Yeah, yeah. Okay. You shut the pack off, right?
Right.
Okay.
Can you show it to the folks at home?
Okay, shut the pack off. There's the power button right there. Okay, when you want to put the pack back on and have it factory default back to its original settings, as you're turning it on, you simultaneously depress both the arrows.
And what will happen, the display will flicker a couple of times and everything will be set back to standard, back to the factory defaults. So it takes you back real simple.
All right.
Okay. And by the way, I think you could pick up, every one of these lights are lit around the outside here. That means that every one of these features are engaged. So I want to turn off my slave cell. All I'm going to do is go to the slave cell, and remember I showed you? Bring it down to 0 and you're good set. You're good to go. Skyport, I want to go into the submenu because you may have multiple packs, and if you do, what's nice about Skyport is it will break your lights up into up to 4 different groups. So I could have a main, fill, background, and hair. And I can individually control those lights.
See how fast he said that? Main, fill, background, and hair? Main, fill, background, and hair?
I could have said key, fill, background, and hair, but...
He's good. He's good. You know, I wouldn't know a hair light if it crawled up my pants leg and bit me right now, but it's cool. No, it's good. 4 zones, 4 lights.
4 zones. Call it whatever you like.
4 groups.
4 groups of lights.
Okay, to be more specific.
And instead of having to go over to each one of them, shut it off while you measure the light from one of let's say your main light first, you don't have to do that. You've got 4 separate groups. In fact, why don't I pull out a Skyport controller and we'll just give you a quick view of this. And the idea is that if I am in group mode, I only will impact the group that this bottom lever, 1, 2, 3, or 4, is pointed at. But when I bring this top lever down from group to all, now all of the lights that I have will be impacted. So let's just take a test on this. Let me bring this up so that we can look at it.
All right.
Oh, okay. Go
Okay.
ahead.
You ready?
No, go ahead. Fire
Okay,
it.
so I'll just fire it once. There we go. Okay.
Right now, as we've set this up to group mode, and we're pointed at group 1, which is what this is set at. And if I press the test button, you can see that I can fire the flash. And I do fire it at Joe. One of the nice things about Skyport, though, is we have these 2 buttons at the top, a plus and a minus. And with that plus and a minus, if I say, oh, I need to be up a half a stop, if I just press the plus button 5 times, I'm going to try and bring these together so you can try and see them.
It's happening. It's working. 2.3.
Oh, sorry.
Jeez, your grammar school math teacher would be upset with you.
I
right
know.
now.
I always had a problem.
That's the thing.
counting.
You gotta count your tenths of f-stops or tenths of a point here, because when you're in the field, you know, you got to remember. Okay, I'm getting good now at going 1, 2, 3, 4. Now 1 stop. Okay, because you just have to keep track of it. But the thing is, you know, with your LCD and all the various monitoring tools, if you're tethered to this and that, you can tell. You say, I need 1/3 of a stop. Bing, bing, bing. You're up 1/3 of a stop. Nice thing about the pack, correct me if I'm wrong, it will not fire until you get the recycle, until it's fully recharged, right?
Exactly.
So you can't overrun the pack. You can't fire it before it's ready. It will let you know.
That's right. And that's right. And it does what's called auto dumping. So if you're coming from a higher power down to a lower number, it'll get rid of all that charge inside the pack. But if you don't have time, you could just press the test button and fire it out and dump it all out that way as well.
Okay.
Okay. So let me try that number again. I'll be better at counting.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. Exactly. Okay, one other thing we can do with the Skyport controller, the plus button has a little light bulb on the top of it. If you press and hold that for 2 seconds, you can turn on or off your modeling light. That's really handy when you're in a dark situation.
In the when you automatically or remotely trigger the modeling lamp, how long does it stay on for?
Stays on for what the default of the system is, which is about 16 seconds. But that's controllable inside the menus. And you could set it up to, I believe it's 3 minutes, or if instead, I'm going to set this down, if you just press and hold this for 3 seconds, this modeling light will stay on as long as you've got power in the pack. So on a full charge, you'll get 2 hours.
Okay, so then it becomes does it shut down after you make a flash?
No.
No. So it stays on even while you're flashing the pack. Cool. All right, I didn't know that about that. That's cool. That is going to be a big help to say you're in a dark situation, you're in a room where you have to shut off the overhead ambient, and your camera is, you know, really struggling to autofocus. Autofocus thrives on contrast. This little pop of an LED modeling lamp will help you enormously in terms of, you know, rendering focus accurately and quickly.
Okay, so let's say you bought 2 of the Quadra packs and you want to use them on a shoot. You don't want them both to go off at the same time, or you do want them both to go off at the same time, but you want to be able to control them, right? So I want to put one of them in group 1, one of them in group 2, let's say.
Okay.
So how would I put this one in group 2? Well, let's go back into the menu. We press the top menu button. We press it a second time to get the radio. Now when we press the sub-menu button, we go into group mode, and I've got my 4 groups right there. Right.
So it's 2 pushes of the menu, 1 push of the sub.
Right. Now, if I push the sub menu one more time, you go into frequency. Frequency means basically the channel this is using. So if I'm shooting in a room with other photographers who are also using Skyport, I don't want to pop their lights, so I just pick a different frequency, and there are 8 different frequencies you can choose. Okay.
Or you purposely pick their frequencies and really mess with them, which is, you know, or have a spare Skyport in your pocket and really, really kind of screw it. Well, anyway.
Okay, a couple of other things. Let's go down to the sound icon. That's the 3rd press. That's audio. We have it on right now. We of course could turn it off, but if we press the sub-menu button, we get a length of time preview. So by default, it's at a number 3. You can go up to number 7. So what does that do for you? Well, if I am using 2 packs and I've got a main light, it's usually set at a higher power level, and I want to know when that light's ready. So if I distinguish the beep sound to a longer one, I'll know when that one's ready as opposed to my fill lights.
Oh, so you can customize the beeps.
In terms of length of yes.
Okay, and that will identify your packs.
Exactly.
All right.
So
all right.
It's a nice little method as well. Okay, the next icon down is the auto off icon. Actually, it's a slow or fast recycling. Then it's auto off, and its submenu allows us now to control how many minutes it goes off after.
This is crucial. So all right.
So we can. Oops, I waited too long. I press it again. After about 3 seconds, and by the way, you can control that. It'll bounce back to the regular menu. So auto off, and now I can. That's auto off is on. How long do you want to control it for? So here it's going off after 20, how many minutes here? 29 minutes. So as you can see, I can adjust this however I want.
Up to 60 minutes?
Up to 60 minutes. And I think by default it's down to 16 minutes.
Okay.
Okay. So.
Do me a favor, because you confused me with, you know.
Do it again?
Your fingers.
Yeah, my
flying
fat
all
fingers.
over,
Do it again?
Do it again.
Okay. So if I'm going to adjust the auto off, which is this icon down here, every press cycles me through. C for slave cell, R for radio, A for audio, slow or SL for slow or fast recycle, and then AO for auto off. Press the sub-menu button, and here's where you can control the amount of time it goes off.
Okay, cool.
Okay. If we press the sub-menu button again, we go to DL1, that's a display. It'll change over to joules if you want instead of watt seconds, and the next one down allows you to control the amount of increment of every time you press this button. By default, it's 1 f-stop, but if you prefer 2 or 4 or whatever, you could program that in as well.
1 f-stop or?
I'm sorry, 1/10 of an
1/10
f-stop.
of it.
Thank you. Yeah. See, he keeps me straight.
All right. That's a lot of information. We're going to take this pack into the field. We're going to bounce it down the steps. We're going to knock it around. We're going to take a look at it. We're going to stress it. We're going to throw it, you know, a considerable distance from the camera, see how the Skyport performs. We're going to use it hard light. We're going to put it into big light shaping tools and all of that sort of jazz, and really kind of stress this little puppy out and see what it can do. I'm pretty devoted to it, actually, as an adjunct to my present light system. I use a lot of speed light, and I also use as a field photographer at the upper end or larger flash area, I'm using the Rangers. The Rangers are, as I say, a bit of a commitment. They're heavy, so this now lives in between those 2 approaches, and it's a nice bridge, you know, that you can make for a small flash kit to kind of enlarge the capacity of it, enable larger jobs, cover more area, shoot larger groups, whatever it may be. So I'm kind of keen on this light.
Great. One other thing I did want to mention about the head is that we do have an umbrella shaft on this head, so if you're using umbrella, you can put it right in here. However, the only umbrellas this will accept are Ellen chrome umbrellas. This is a 7mm shaft, and most everyone else's are 8 or more. So you would have to use an Ellen chrome umbrella with this, unless you used a tilt head underneath there and used an umbrella tilt. Put an umbrella in that. So that's a way around it, if you have other umbrellas you would like to use. Okay. There was one other, I wanted to also mention how these are sold, just so that people understand, how they can get them if they're thinking about buying a Quadra. So they're sold in kits, and they'll either come as a pack and a head, either an A or an S head, or a pack, 2 heads, and a secondary battery pack, along with a Skyport trigger and a hard shell case. So it's either a single head and pack or the double heads with the secondary battery.
With the kind of whole 9 yards.
Right. Okay. So that's how we sell them. And of course you could buy individual components if you want to add to the system or take away from the system as well.
Okay. Well, that's Mark Assman, the expert of Quadra flash photography, and Joe McNally sitting on a park bench bringing you the grumpy old men of flash photography.